I wish there was a way to see how many people were in the stream at the start. That way I can basically see how soon I should start talking. I should probably talk the entire time, but if no one else is in here, it feels a little strange. Just a little bit. Can I tune in? Can I tune in? Can I mute it? That's the question. Yes, click. Click on the thing. Mute. Hell yeah. Oh well, already don't know. Well, let's hop into it. It's such a strange... Oh wait, there we go. Can I... Yeah, that seems overkill. Oh well. We'll just move on here. So, these were the references that I gathered earlier here. I'll pull them up on the screen. Just little things to look at to sort of get the brain juices flowing as I go along here. I particularly like these. I'm thinking that the way a lot of this foliage is going to work is I'll probably do as much using real geometry as possible. And then for anything that details down like past a certain detail level, I'll probably use a texture. I think that's my plan. Hello, hello, hello from Ireland. I'm not in Ireland. Hello to Ireland. Hello from the southern deserts of the United States. Hello again. So yeah, so the plan here is I think just if the detail of it goes down past a certain like threshold, which is kind of arbitrary at the moment, then we'll use a texture for it. But as long as it like stays above a certain threshold, we're just going to try and model as much as we can. I think that's the play here. So over in Blender, I've got my Blender open. I've also got my my Photoshop, good old Photoshop. And we can mess around in here and try alphas and a bunch of different stuff. So let us begin. Lunch was good. Lunch was good. Okay. So let's see. Here in the Blender, let's make a new collection, and we'll call this Foliage. And let's make probably... I don't know. We'll start with grass first. We talked a lot about grass today. We'll start with grass first. Give me a second. Not sponsored. Hello to France. No, no. There is. So I realize. Oh shoot! So I've only got two monitors. Only two is more than a lot of people. But like the amount of screen real estate I have is limited. And I realize I just looked through all of my references and you guys can't see a thing. But for my like placeholder background, this is why it's a video of a forest, is because I really like them because they don't exist here. There's the closest this place gets to a forest is a flat mesa, which is just a flat thing of like cactuses and tumbleweeds. Very beautiful, but not the same kind. There we go. That's the thing we were trying to look at here. So these were my references. This is what I was looking at here and saying. So let me go. Where's that one of the like dandelion looking, or not dandelion, but I don't know what this is. It's a. We do have a lot of this grass here. It like. I don't know. I don't know what kind of grass it is. I don't know what its genus, family, biological name is, but scientific name. But I think for as many things as we can, what we're going to do is we're going to try and model as much as possible. And then for things where details shrink down past a certain level, we're going to use transparency and textures for those things. So, like just in the leaves right next to it, we're going to fully model a lot of those leaves. Because it's a small asset on the whole, and because this is not going to be the thing that is populating the ground like 100%, we're going to do that with fully modeled things. So when I say fully modeled, I should be specific. These leaf edges are variegated, which means that there's like little tiny bumps along them. We won't be modeling that, right? That is a level of detail that we don't need to do. But the leaf as a whole will exist as like an actual 3D object. It will not be a flat plane. But for something like this, we'll figure it out as we move along. That's basically all I can really say is we're going to grab our pants, we're going to fly by them, and then the seat will probably get lost somewhere on the way. That's what we're going to do. So I'll move this off to the side for now. Let's hop on over to Blender. But I do think grass is where we're going to start. So let's start by bringing in this, and what we'll do is I think I'm gonna make two different kinds of grasses. So I'm gonna make a fully modeled, very leafy grass, and then we'll make sparser, thinner grass out of the plains and stuff. I think that's the plan. So to begin here, boop 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 ba doop doop doo boop boo. Add in a mirror modifier. Something like this. Turn on clipping. So please, if any of you have any questions about Blender, now is the time and a half to ask them, because I've been using this program for a very, very, very long time. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Before we actually make grass, this is a really, really important practice that if you are interested in art or 3D modeling or anything even related to this, this is something that I highly encourage and recommend you do every time you work. It is so important. In Blender, each of these squares in this grid, in this front view grid, are supposed to be a 1 square meter measurement. So 2 high here is 2 square meters. 2 square meters is about the size of like a tall, full-grown person. And it's important, and this is the thing I highly encourage you to do, is I'm going to put in a cube, right? And you can see that this cube is 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters in all directions. I'm going to move it up just a little bit here. And then I'm going to scale it down along just its z-axis so that we end up with this tall, thin cube. And the last thing I might do is I'll probably bevel all of the edges and then delete the faces. I might not even bevel them that much, actually. Bloop. And I'm deleting specifically just these faces like such. So now I've got this thing that's kind of just chilling here. And I'm going to name this reference for human scale. And so now I've got this object in my scene, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my locks here so that I can have it be something I can't select anymore, right? But now, basically, if I make something, let's say I make a like blade of grass, right? And I put all of my grass on a card that's this big, I now have an idea for like how tall that grass is in comparison to roughly the size of my character. And if you're ever working in 3D for games, like please make sure that is the first thing you do, because it is so irritating to have to like pull a bunch of different assets over, especially from a bunch of different sources and people, and then always have to deal with the fact that like they're not all scaled the same. Put something in your scene that is consistent with everything else everyone else is doing, so that you're like, okay, this is how tall it is, this is how big it is, this is the size it should be. So please do that. This is my little humanoid reference here. Now we're gonna make grass. Yeah. Yeah, seriously, two square meter sized leaves is a really common thing. Which, and part of the reason why I bring it up, right, is I started pulling out this grass blade here, which is the right shape. It's the right thing, but oh God, it would be so horrifying to see a blade of grass like this out in the wild. You'd be like, it's a palm tree. Oh no. You know what? I'm sorry. Give me just 1 second here. Whenever I'm doing this, it means that there's something going on behind the scenes that I don't want you to see. I wonder what it could be. I'm just looking up types of grass. I don't want to admit my shame. Uh, Grass varieties. Much better results. Much better results. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's set that over there for now. I just, oh, what if I could put the chat in OBS is like, yes, okay. OBS is like great for recording, but I'm clearly and quickly realizing why there are several other programs I should use to sort of manage what's going on. Anyway, back to the thing. So yeah, so that's a good way to sort of like determine scale. Um, so we will bring this down to about this high. I'm actually going to do one other thing. Um, this is for, you know what? I lied. Let me go back just a half second here. Let me go back like 10 seconds. I'm actually going to make that scale reference again, but I'm going to make it a little bit more intelligently than I did that first time. Because one of the things that I always forget, so the only difference between my first scale reference and this scale reference is when you do art stuff, one of the things that you do is you do proportions, right? So your body cuts in half at the base of your pelvis. Um, and then it cuts in half again at like just around nipple height, and it cuts again down just below your knees, right? So as I was like measuring that first piece of grass, there's some degree of exaggeration, right? Like most grass that you see in just like lawns and neighborhoods and stuff like that is maybe this tall, maybe, right? Um, but out in the more wild parts of nature, it can come up quite high. And I was suddenly realizing that I don't know how high quite high is on my model. So by adding in these like divisions, I can also sort of see proportions. So I know that like this line, just in equal divisions for a 6 foot tall person, is just below their kneecaps. That's like exactly how big this is. So we'll select all of these, do a little bit of that, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. And we've got these nice little things there. And then we'll take the all the sides and edges and such, uh, and we'll make those more useful. It's a very long-winded way of doing this, but oops. Click, 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 click. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got a much more useful reference for size. Yeah. Okay. Turn that off, turn our grass back on. So now we could see that if this grass were placed in the world, it would come just above your knees. And would also be the size of like a death blade. I'm gonna do one last little thing here. Display as wire. Nope, not that one. Ugh. Displays textured. Take you. Display as wire. Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, now I'm set up. Now I'm set up. Promise. Okay. So let's see here. I imagine one of the things that I go back and forth on quite a bit is this like very, very pointed grass versus the more curved top kind of grass. And I think I'm gonna go for something kind of along these lines. Like I like big leafy grass. I do not like in a lot of games you see it and it's just these teeny tiny things. This does have a place. I mentioned pampas grass a lot, which is the like grass that has the like the tuft on the end. But I definitely think I like the big chunky leafy grass. I think that's a lot of fun. I don't think it should be particularly pointy. And we'll move this up a little bit. We'll add in one more here. So this is going to be the basis for a lot of our grass. Oh yeah. Someone said that just in school you don't really learn a tremendous amount of like how to do something like this. You had to like learn it on the job. And I remember getting my like it was my first job where this was involved in the process in any way. Um, and they were like they basically gave me an assignment, and I don't even remember what it was. They were I think if I recall correctly, we were making a game that took place on a space station, and I had to animate. I had to create. I had to model, rig, animate, and texture a robotic arm that would come out and then like display a screen. And then the animations for that slowly breaking down. So like receive some damage, receive more damage, is broken. And they were like, "You know how to do that, right?" And I was like, "I mean, I know how to model, rig, and animate." And they were like, "Cool, well, get it done." I was like, "Okay." And you just got to figure that shit out. There's not like a textbook for it. You just are like, "Oh yeah, don't you worry. I will do that thing you are paying me to do." So I feel yeah. Um, Talking about grass as well, just these like profiles. I feel like this sort of arrowhead profile would be like just way too aggressively sharp. I also like it when we've got the kind of flare to it. And I think that this template, in just all of the grass I've done so far, I think this is going to be one of the more useful ways to do it. So the plan here is that we're going to take this grass, we're going to model a couple different blades. We're going to put those blades into clusters and then distribute those clusters across a wider area. And we're just going to do that a couple times. However, while we're still at this point, there are a few things that we want to do, so we just don't have to do it all again later. And one of the tips, which was another tip, just talking about things you learn the first time around, that made a huge difference for me was in any sort of 3D program, you've got like Blender calls it the origin, other player or other things call it like the pivot point or rotation or whatever it is. But it's basically this thing that like I have this object and I can move this object, but when I rotate it, where exactly does it rotate from? Does it rotate from the tip? Does it rotate from its base? And the truth is that you can set it to be kind of wherever, right? Like I could move it up here and have it be so that it rotates from this space way down here. Um, but wherever that point is, you need to pay attention to it. It's recommended that if you're making something like trees or grass or anything like that, that you have it drop down below where you expect the ground to be. So here I've got this like red line, and that's where I'm imagining ground level to be. And so my origin is on that ground level, but my mesh dips down into that. And what that's super useful for like grass and trees and stuff is if your environment starts to undulate, like there's hills and valleys and stuff like that, you're not going to get floating grass like we saw earlier, right? Is if you push it down a little bit, even if there would be a part that's like kind of above, it'll still be in the ground like it's supposed to. Yeah. So yeah, and that's so with this as our like base form blade of grass, right? We're gonna spend a chunk here now just basically messing it up. Um and then starting to alter it so that it's visible from all sides. So I will hide this for now. I'll turn this on, turn that off. Apply this mirror modifier, and we'll make just a couple different blades of grass. 4 is my lucky number, so 4 is generally what I like to do. So we'll start in with the first blade of grass here. And probably we'll make this like we're just legitimately gonna start kind of mucking around with everything that's going on here. And I think that's one of the things that I was trying to communicate earlier and doing like a really bad job with is that so I was talking about how like I'll go back here. You've got this blade of grass here, this second one. And so a lot of people will be like, okay, well, on my material, I'm going to put on a wind effect so that it moves, right? And that's going to make it look more realistic. But the problem is that you started off with an already like totally perfect, symmetrical, like beautiful cutout, flat cookie cutter thing that is moving, but we can tell that the thing that is moving is impossibly perfect, right? So as you go in, you really should just start messing everything up. So here I have all of these like nice, neat, flat, horizontal lines where all my stuff goes. Move it around. Move it around. Get it all kind of wacky. It doesn't need to be that good. It's grass. No one's gonna do the process I did a minute ago, where I went through and like wildly inspected every little detail, right? That's just it's not how the game works at all. So go in, mess it up, change it around, make it not perfect. Because that's what's gonna make it look good, right? That's gonna be the thing that makes it look much more realistic than it would have otherwise. So here I can take a look at this. I've got a little bit of, did I? Nope. Alt N, boom, boom, nope. Weird, why are you doing this? Uh, bloop. They're all facing the same. Is it just the, am I in some kind of, that's why. I understand. Perfect. And we're going to be going over a whole bunch of like little just things that you can do. But this is going to be my more or less straight blade of grass as I try and sort of move stuff around here. All right, so here's my straight up and down blade of grass. Let's move on to the next one. Um, this one, I probably want to have doing like some kind of like tilt like thing. So just you go in one step at a time and you basically make those things happen. I'm gonna hide some of these other ones so that I'm not distracted here. Bloop, 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 bloop. There we go. Bloop, bloop. And we'll also turn the normals off for the moment. Um, Technically speaking, and this is weird, right? So talking about nanite. All right. This is literally the thing that is kind of throwing a wrench in the whole process. Oh, with Unreal Engine is here I've got this central line of vertices up and down the length of the blade of grass. I can actually I can get rid of these, right? I'm gonna do this just for a moment here. I could get rid of these and I could have this instead. And that literally cut down on the like vertex footprint of this blade of grass by 50%, right? It's now using half as many triangles as it was a minute ago. The thing is that this doesn't look as good because there's just like less change in shape that I can have when using this. And Nanite doesn't really care about polygon counts. So part of the thing is like, well, should I keep this in here or should I try to be as efficient as possible? And the thing is now more so than ever, there just really isn't a right answer to that question. It used to be that there like was kind of a right answer to that question, like it kind of had to be a certain way. But now I would make the argument that you can be a little bit more free with it. And we're going to do the same thing as we're going to just go in and mess stuff up. Oh, you know what I didn't do with the last one that would be really good to do with this one? And we'll do some of this crazy drift and stuff. It's Tokyo Drift. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That can be my kind of hunched over one. Perfect, perfect. All right. I'm gonna. Should I? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I realized too, just thinking about talking about things, I might pull. Yeah. Yep, 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 yep. Let's grab this guy here. So one of the things I'm thinking about as well is that there's a lot of situations where, again, just in the grasses that I've tried to make so far, and a lot of them have been all right. I don't, I shouldn't necessarily be spending time on this, but I just want to do it as well as I can. One of the things in particular that I think I've done before that I want to do differently now is I've got like in theory one grass that's coming like straight up and another one that's like curved over, and then I would try to make all four of these doing like a fairly radically different motion. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do variants of these first two again. So we'll have two that are different but standing straight up, and then two that are different but like really leaning over. So with this one, we'll grab several of these guys, pull them way out. Uh, hmm, hmm. Just do a really awkward bend. Really awkward bend. Got that like broken cattail kind of shape going on. I think this will do just fine. Should I put on music? Does anyone know if YouTube will get really angry at me if I put on music? I feel like that's a thing that YouTube would get angry at. Oh man. Fun story about the videos that I've been uploading because I really just haven't been able to uh just commit as much time to each part of the like YouTube process as I would really want to. Um, and it was funny because I made a video a long while ago. And it was a really long video, and I put in all these musical artists that I really like, and it was like a time lapse video. And I put in all this stuff, and YouTube came up, and it was like, "Hey, if you're going to use all these artists' music, you got to understand that we're going to give any ad revenue to them and not you." And I was like, "That's fine. I'm not even generating ad revenue right now. I don't care." Uh, and it was like cool. And I went through and I credited every artist and I tagged everybody. And I was like, yeah, I love this music. Like, check these people out. It's so awesome. And then sometime later, I did that exact same thing, but with like more, I guess, a more popular genre of music. And YouTube came up with every conceivable red flag. It was like, you can't use any of this. How dare you even think of putting this song in your video? This is illegal. And I was like, yo, just what? Why can I use their music? Are they not also like an established artist on your platform? It was just really weird to me how YouTube like was like, yeah, you can use this music, it's fine, but like the money's gonna go to them instead. And I was like, yeah, take it. And then for some other songs, it was like, no, you can never use this. This belongs to whoever the hell made it. It was weird. I wish I was at a point where I could monetize things, um, but I can't monetize the stream. So we'll figure out music in a minute here. But someone asks, is that how does the UE5 handle detailed topology like this for grass? And the answer is, in theory, it should handle it just about the same as it does for normal grass. I realize that's a very unsatisfying answer, right? But the thing is that if you look at like the grass in Ghost of Tsushima, at least according to the GDC talk, right, is it would range from having like several polygons, like this number of polygons, down to being just one polygon uh, at like a long distance. But with Unreal Engine, all of that's kind of like handled through the nanite system. So the thing is that I haven't encountered really a situation in which this is like less performant. So it should handle about the same, despite the fact it's maybe more polygons you would want to use than normal. And that's kind of the experiment that we're doing and like what I've been playing around with. Like, is how much is too much? I mean, we can definitely do more now, but I don't know how much more. So these are all things that are to be figured out. All right, and then this last one, whoops, we'll do as a, did I? I did, okay. And then as this last one we'll do as another like jolly curved fellow. And we'll make this one do quite the curve. This will be like a really extreme, like, ooh, grassy, grassy grass. Like this. And I like the idea of this one being like moved way out to the side as well. Bloop, 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 bloop. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a little too excited there. And then as always, and I cannot stress this enough, you go in and you mess it all up. If it's a natural thing, it's not going to be perfect. It's got to be weird. I suppose it doesn't have to be weird, but like it's better if it is. Me too. I mean, so far, so I know on YouTube, uh, that you guys have only seen the. I guess Discord has only seen the static images too. They've seen a lot more static images, but the in motion everything works just fine. It's just a question of making it as exciting or as visually pleasing as possible. Talking about how oh my god, Euclidean was a whole thing. I don't even know where to start talking about that. The, oh my god, I forgot that even existed. That was the giant where they did the oh my god, I'm too curious. That was they did this whole presentation where if I'm remembering the right people about this crazy uh method they had using voxels and volume point clouds in order to make any like an infinite amount of detail and it always being uh yeah, unlimited detail real-time rendering with Euclidean. Oh yeah, fuck those guys. Those are some arrogant motherfuckers. Oh, I'm sorry for the language. That's why I said this stream wasn't for kids. God, you're right. It basically just is uh nanite, isn't it? I like look up unlimited detail real-time rendering by Euclidean on YouTube if you want to know what I'm talking about. It was just a fragrant like scam basically that this digital company was trying to run and everyone was like that's really cool if that's real except it's not and so get out of here. Oh, I forgot that existed. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to grass. I'm so sorry for that tangent. I realized I didn't like really explain anything, but it was a time. So we've got our grass here. And then the thing we're going to do is we're going to sort of randomly distribute this grass in order to make clumps and nice things of it. So the first thing is that before I do any distribution of grass into like clumps or anything like that, I want to take what I currently have and set it up how it needs to be set up so that when I start to duplicate it, I don't have to set up each copy. I can just do the originals, and then the copies themselves will, of course, be however they need to be. That didn't really say anything. What am I talking about? Well, first, let's take a look at normals. So normals, and this was another thing that was asked earlier in the stream today, was what is normal mapping? And normal, as far as a texture is concerned, is it's a texture that changes how light hits an object. But there's normal textures, and then there's also like the normals of the geometry of your 3D object itself. And if you go to school for 3D art, you'll learn about normal maps, but if you go to a shitty art school like I did, then you're not going to learn about this. These blue lines are essentially the front of my object. So if I come over here to a material, I'll make a new material and I'll call this culling example. I'll scroll down and I'll turn on backface culling. And then I'm going to assign this material to my thing, and I'm going to go to material preview. So because all of these little blue lines are like shooting out towards us, and those are the fronts of each of these faces, we see the grass as intended, like this is perfect. But if I go around to the other side, you'll suddenly notice that it has disappeared, right? And it's because all 3D graphics, we only render and draw on one side of a polygon. So without further instruction, you need to like sort of be aware of just the orientation of each of these faces as you model. And that's especially important for games and grass, as we'll be doing here. But the first thing we've got to fix is this, because grass becomes very uncompelling if you do it this way. So let's get rid of that, and we'll go back to view mode here. So I've turned on my normals, and I can see them. And what I'm going to do... Oh, I'm sorry. Before normals, there's something else I'm going to do. I'm going to pop over here to UV editing. I'm going to get rid of that image. And I'm going to unwrap, unwrap my grass. This is another thing that's going to get a little bit weird and non-standard in terms of what you see versus like what you might expect. So I also said earlier, and it was a very short note, but all of my textures in my game work based off of a gradient. You know what? Here, give me like 2 seconds. This will just be much easier to show you than to attempt to describe. That's the thing I'm realizing. Boom, boom, boom. Texture this, boom, great, perfect. Okay, so yeah, all of my textures in the game, because I want to use a combination of lighting and shaders in order to create a lot of the depth visually to the scene, right? And in order for those to work as best as possible, one of the things is that I needed my colors to be sort of striking, but not complex. Not a whole bunch of like texture going on, not a whole bunch of changes in color, but gradients ended up working really, really, really well. So that means that I want to use gradients for most of what I'm doing. And I was talking earlier about UVs in general and just the fact that they can get really wild and they can do some really cool stuff. And this is a perfect example of exactly that. So here I've got this blade of grass. I've unwrapped it here and I've laid it out on just a simple black to white gradient. This gradient does in fact go through 0 to 1, which Photoshop recently, I don't know how recently, but they started doing this thing where whenever they make a gradient, they transition from like, I don't know, they transition based on perception and what looks pretty and not the math, which is really frustrating if you're ever trying to work in a shader. You always want math to be the thing that fuels your colors, not visual appearance necessarily. Anyway, so I've got this. On the left is my UV map with the gradient there, and then on my right you can kind of see that gradient in action. It may be a little bit unclear down here at the base of the grass, but if I move it over, you can see that white creeping up on the bottom there. And we know that it's repeating, and we know that there is a gradient there. Here's where stuff gets really, really, really cool. And I am excited for it. Is I'm going to take each of these points all along this one side, and I'm going to align them vertically, right? So anywhere along this gradient that I move vertically, that's not going to have any effect whatsoever. It's only left to right movement that has any effect. So I'm going to take these as well, and I'm going to align them and move them up. And I might as well, while I'm at it, take these and align them. I'll do that one as well. So let's do it. Perfect. So it's only the left to right that really affects the gradient of things. The more you learn about things like UV maps, the more you can play around with features like the thing I'm about to show you, right? So as I move this UV map around, you can see it's like color changing dynamically on the right, right? I would want to have, in theory, like a dark blue-green near the bottom, and then a much brighter yellow-green near the top. That's the like sort of color gradient I want for my grass. But I have this beautiful line, and someone asked a minute ago, it's like, do you really need that extra edge in the middle? Is I can do things with that. And the thing I can do with it, and this is super cool, is I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to put my cursor to selected. I'm going to make sure that all of my transformations are going off of the 3D cursor. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start scaling only that center line of vertices down towards the black end of my gradient. And watch what happens on the right there to my blade of grass as I do so, because it's kind of cool. You can see actually that darker part spread up the center of the blade of grass. This is not any kind of texturing that I'm doing per se. Like I'm not going through and I'm not making a distinct image where it's like it has to work this way. But you can actually create and add in effects using just the gradients and the UVs, which is cool, and how like a lot of the texturing and coloring in my game is being done. So I'm gonna play around with these. There's a lot of limitations to this, and there are a lot of like artifacts and things that cause problems that you have to kind of watch out for. But on a whole, you can create some really, really, really cool textures and gradients that are doing more complex things than a straight gradient can, just by messing with the UVs ever so slightly. So that's the first thing we have to do is lay this out on our gradient map. I thought the first thing that we had to do was the normals, but I forgot if we don't do this first, then this will be an absolute pain in the ass. So cursor to origin, and we'll do grab Z. Can I turn on? There should be somewhere here, maybe pixel grid, pixel. Over image. Perfect. So now I can see sort of what my pixel is. I like to do at least 5 pixels worth of space, and then take up as much of this as I can. Boop, 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 boop. Cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, no, that's exactly the thing. So, uh, talking then earlier, right, is that we have our material, which is our culling example, where it's only on one side, right? Now with what I've just done with this blade of grass, I can then take, let me go back to a more convenient view here. So we've got this, and it's working in such a way that we've got this like gradient from bottom to top, and then it is actually darker along the stem than it is anywhere else, which is awesome. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this, we're just going to duplicate it in place. We're going to cancel all of our transformations. And then we're going to take those normals and we're just going to go flip. And now, if I put this back on our culling example, you can see that we actually see both sides of our grass, which is fantastic. And that goes back like this is again a sort of one of many classic ways to do grass. This is a relatively expensive way to do grass, all things considered. Um, but again, with nanite, how expensive is it actually? I have a good computer, so maybe it'll work out really, really well. Um, I'll know once I get this on my first sort of like demo, which hopefully will be done soon. I want to get that on Steam. We'll see how that goes. But once it's up in a place where people can play with it, maybe this will be way too expensive. Maybe this will be like a process that is like it's just too graphically intense for most computers to handle, and therefore I'll need to find something else. But until I know that it's not a good idea, why not shoot for the most graphically cool thing we can, right? Uh, just keep going with it. This is what we got here. This is our first blade of grass. We're going to do basically this exact same thing for our other blades of grass and then move on to the next step there. And I'm actually going to put them on that gradient material just so I know which ones I have done already. Edit mode, perfect. Whoop. Oh my goodness. I thought that wouldn't irritate me. I lied. It does. Another thing that I can change with this whole process is the gradient material. Is not only can I change its like various parts of things based on where they are on this gradient, but I can also change how fast the gradient scales up and down the thing, right? Which what I mean by that is here we have a like sort of completely even distribution where from here is the darkest, and then it goes up to here, which is like an even amount of upgrade in whiteness to here, to here, to here, each step along the way. If I take that, I could make it so that there's like a very harsh transition at the bottom, or a very like most of it is down on the darker end, and then only the tip is this very gradual thing. Or I could do it in the opposite direction. So there's a lot when you understand what the UVs are doing that you can do in order to like play around with this, which is cool. Give me a second and I'll read you there. Do, 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 do. Another thing about, well, I'll tell that in a minute there. Welcome. So confused. My name is Destry. I am making a video game. If you want to hang out, you're more than welcome to. Woo! Viewer number 9. I mean, that's more than I was expecting. I imagined I was going to spend a lot of today just sort of mumbling to myself about who knows whatever the heck. So I'm glad you're all here. Thank you. Bump those up like such. Why? Oh, did I? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we've got that as well, and then we'll go in, layout, boop, doo, 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 doom, 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 flip. And coincidentally, I also should have probably done this before I duplicated the 4 of them and then messed with them. The UV layout anyway. That would have saved me from this part of the process, but you know, here we are. I feel that though on the like random YouTube recommendations where if there's like a topic that you're not at all interested in. My my favorite example of that I have ever come across in my entire life was there was a YouTube recommendation I had one day that suggested a channel to me of marble races where this guy goes out to like his local beaches and parks and stuff like that and carves these real like really elaborate tracks on an incline, and then he's got a selection of like 20 or 18 marbles or whatever like some standard cup size is for like a horse race or a drag race, or I don't know. um, and then he'll put all of the marbles at the top and like release them into these channels and just record and narrate the marbles running through this course like they're actual individuals. It's like, oh, and here comes Black Lightning racing down the outside track. Is he going to make it in front of like triple rows? No, he doesn't. And it started off as like the stupidest, where I was like, who on earth? This is like a 30-minute video of this race. Who on earth would watch something like this? Why did you recommend this to me, YouTube? This is insane. And then, like 30 minutes later, I've not only finished that video and I'm like on the edge of my seat with like cookies and crackers and just like snacking and stuff, but I'm like, oh my God, next one. I need to see all of these races. I have to know the lives of these marbles. It is insane. So, yeah, YouTube, weird place. I'm glad you know marble racing. Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, it's wild because you're like, this is none of this is real. This is like the height of imagination, and I am enthralled. Language wise, I'm making this game in Unreal. What you're looking at is not Unreal. This is Blender. This is a 3D art suite. Um, and it's just for making the 3D models and such. But all of the programming I'm doing in Blender, um, or I'm sorry, all the programming I'm doing in Unreal Engine 5, and I'm using Blueprints, which is its native visual scripting language. The engine is written in C++, but I don't have that kind of time. Is the way I would phrase that. I did try learning C++ at one point, but like the first programming language I ever learned was Python. And when I learned Python, it was great. I still use Python today. A lot of the scripting in this program is done in Python. It's a fantastic language. But it's really hard to like risk the potential safety of your computer in Python. I guess it's not really hard, but like when you start learning C, any of the C languages really, and they're like, okay, so here's the deal. You can basically destroy your own computer if you're not too careful. So be careful. And you're like, whoa, this is much more dramatic than the land of light interpreted languages that I'm coming from. Oh, memories. Oh, memories. Let me bang this out real quick here so you guys don't have to watch me screwing around in these screens for ever and six halves here. Do 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 doot. Da, 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 da. Hmm, hmm. And then we'll give that the gradient material. Cool, perfect, good enough. Good enough for government work. Boop. Alrighty. Miniature pig racing. Yeah, no, I I can't believe just that there's one other, let alone multiple other people who know about these marble videos. Like it felt so random. There was no part of any of my algorithms in the world that were like, oh, this is something this person would like. And it was suggested to me, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. It's that part where the algorithms are like, they know you better than you realize. You're like, oh no. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I feel that. I feel that. I do not have a master's in video game art. I have I have a degree in animation. Um and it was a shit show. If you can help it, mm, boy, don't get me started on school. Don't get me started on school. That's the statement to be made. Let's go talk about grass again. Um So here we've got all of these bits with their UVs all laid out. And I should note, if I go back into any of these individual blades of grass here, again, that these are comprised of two different blades, right? What we could do, and this is another talk about like performance and stuff like that, is what we could do is we could have gone into Unreal, which is where we're going to be taking all of this, and we could have said, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to double side all of these faces. So essentially turn off backface culling, meaning that you only need one face and we're going to render both sides of it. But that does weird stuff with the lighting. So we're doing it this way to make sure we just have two outward faces and everything is calculated as easily and normally as possible. You don't want to have to like do complex off the beaten road things if you can help it in a way. So we have this, so I can actually take one of these and we can see the other blade of grass with its normals facing in the opposite direction. And then if I go back into UV editing, we can also see we actually have two different sets of UVs here. And why aren't you oh, because I would need to do that. That's why. So yeah, two different sets of UVs. All this stuff is like this. And now we have our blades of grass. The last thing that we're going to do for each of these is talking about geometry normals and geometry, uh, not just some weird geometry stuff, right? Let me. How do I want to try and describe this? This is cool and really weird. This was one of the hardest things to wrap my brain around, right? So here we have just a sphere, and I'm actually going to hide the cube reference. So here we have a sphere, and the sphere is, of course, made up of faces, and each face has a normal. So that is like, you can think of the normal as just the direction that the face is pointing, right? So I've got the top of my desk. Its face, the top of it is just pointing up. Underneath it, that's just pointing straight down, right? So each of these is just pointing out. If I go inside the ball, you can see that we don't see any because all of the faces are pointing out and none of them are pointing in. If any of them were pointing in, we would see something like this, and we would be like, oh no, something has gone horribly wrong here. Or on the outside, we would see, oh my goodness. And coincidentally, that's why you check both the inside and the outside. Is I don't, there it is, there it is. For a second, I couldn't find where the one I flipped was. Boop. So these are the face normals of the sphere. However, uh, especially when you're working with foliage, these are not the normals that are of like utmost concern. The ones that are of the utmost concern are called the vertex normals. How do I describe this? Each little point that is an intersection of these lines is called a vertex, and each vertex has its own method for calculating how light bounces off of it, right? And the way it's set up in the moment with this sphere that we're looking at is for this single face here, it's got 4 vertices that make it up, and each of those 4 vertices is coming like straight out, or I guess it would look better if I did this straight out, just in a straight line, right? You can see if I zoom in here that like this little purple line is the vertex normal for this vertex for this face pointing out. It's because each face has 4 of its own vertex normals that the ball looks like this, right? It looks like this hard-edged, faceted thing with like lots of little, pardon me, tiny faces on it, right? What if for each vertex we were to just take those 4 vertex normals and combine them? What you would end up with is this, right? Now it looks smooth. It's not actually smooth. It's still made up of faces, but now it looks smooth because those vertex normals have all been combined. So when we look at like a single thing here, we see only one little purple line, and that's because all of these 4 faces here are like now sharing the same lighting information in this area. So it's like, oh yeah, that's just one smooth thing. There's no difference there. It's all the same. If I were to take these and do like mark sharp, I don't actually know if that will work quite as simply as I want it to. But the point is that you can, here, what if I do this? Will that do it? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you need to work with the vertex normals as well. And I will expand upon that in 1 second here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're just talking about school stuff. Um, which the basic premise is that like a degree, my dad, as a fun note, was actually an animator for Paramount, and he did the that animation where like you have a page and you draw a picture, and then you go get a new page and you draw a picture again. And he once said something that's kind of like stuck with me for forever. And I think it's a really good description of just arts in general and the value of a degree. And the thing you said is that your reputation begins and ends at the tip of your pencil. Obviously, for like 3D graphics, that's a little bit different, but I think it's a really, really good thing to keep in mind is that no matter what you can say, no matter what you say you can do, what matters is when you sit down if you can do that thing. Even if it was something you used to be able to do. Like I used to be able to do this thing. This was something I did a long time ago. If you can't still do that thing, you can't do that thing. So, anyway, sorry. Back to the vertex normals here because we're going to do something really, really, really wild with these. This sphere can flip back and forth between like a faceted object and a smooth object based on what I do with the vertex normals. But it gets even wilder because I don't actually have to have any of these vertex normals facing. I can choose what direction I want all of them to face. I can have them face any direction. And that's exactly what we're going to do is I'm going to do that. I think it's, oh, I forget the, is it O? Nope. Maybe. Whoops. All right. It's Alt LL. Yes. Yes. Invert. Align. And then straight up. Right? Yes. Oh, but we don't need to invert them. Okay. This is going to blow your brain a little bit. Let's do something like just 100. 100 is nice and fine. This is my favorite part of trying to explain vertex normals because it just makes people go like, "What?" So, I'll hide this for the moment. Okay, so what we've done is all normals do is they say, "What direction am I pointing?" But specifically, it's as far as light is concerned. Is it saying not what direction am I pointing in 3D space, but when light hits me, what do I need to like? What information do I give back that I'm saying, oh yeah, this is my shape and the direction I'm pointing? The reason why that's important is because I can take every normal in this sphere and point them straight up. And so now when I move my camera around, you'll see this whole ball changes color in like a weird ethereal way. But despite being a 3D object, it's being lit as if it were a flat object because they're all pointed the same way. So if I unhide this disk over here, right, it'll make a lot of sense here, right? So we've got a flat disk. Perfect. Makes sense. The sun or light source is above. So if I like tilt the camera up, the more my camera is looking straight down, the brighter it is. The more I look down at an oblique angle, it gets darker and darker and darker until finally I'm looking underneath it. And now it's at its darkest, right? The exact same thing is happening on this sphere because of how I adjusted the normals. Here I'm looking underneath, so it's like, yeah, they're all dark because you're looking at them from the bottom. Even though some of these I'm not looking at from the bottom because it's a 3D object, right? And as I start to move my camera up, we'll see at some point, like these are the same shade of gray, and it'll get brighter and brighter until I get to here. I'm looking straight top down. It's like, yeah, the whole thing is just bright. So what I've done is, despite this as being a 3D object, it's being lit as if it were a 2D object. And by playing with the normals, you can do some wild stuff. So I already showed you the wild stuff I was doing with the UVs in order to use gradients, right? This is not as wild. This is done kind of everywhere, but it's a good example for just some really, really cool stuff. So I'm going to hide this real quick and I'm going to pull up my grass again, right? Someone was asking earlier a bit ago about how do you light grass, right? And the answer is that you need to light it in such a way that it basically doesn't cast shadows. Obviously, in real life, grass casts shadows. But in the world of video games, shadows are really, really difficult things to do. And if you've got hundreds of thousands of blades of grass flapping around in the wind, and all of them are creating like dynamic shadows that do the exact, that's a great way to kill your computer. That will absolutely take your computer from here to dead just instantly. So rather than have shadows on our grass, what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple nifty little tricks. And the first trick that we're going to do is we're going to take our grass, because grass primarily exists like on the ground, right? Grass, each individual blade may be doing weird things, like all sorts of stuff in 3D. But a field of grass is just a flat thing. So we're going to essentially light all of our grass like it's just a flat thing. So I'm going to take each of these blades of grass, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Again, these are not the face normals. Those are blue. And if I turn them on, you can see they look like this. These are the Vertex normals. I'm going to take all of them, and I'm going to do... No. Oh, it's only going to do it on one object at a time. Whoops. All right. All right, one object at a time it is. Boom, 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 boom. Do 0, 0, 100, and a line. Perfect. So now we've got this blade of grass here, and every part of this blade of grass is facing straight up. And I'm going to quick get rid of these little blue lines. Oh, I know why that's happening. I just need to remember why that's happening. Did I? No. Live troubleshooting, classic. 0, 0. Yeah, okay. Probably we'll just turn auto smooth on first. So the way this grass currently works now is just this one blade, and you can see the difference immediately, right? So here I have a shadow because of whatever is like theoretically on the top of this grass. But for this blade over here, the one that I have highlighted, here, if we look at it straight on, it's like kind of lit. And the more above it we get, which as we were talking about is kind of a big issue, the more it looks like it's in fact doing... No. No. Hold on. Nope. I lied. Everything's fine. Oh well, worry about it later. That's such a bad way to handle things. So we'll take this, and we're basically going to go through and just set the vertex normals to work that way. Where's I have a button somewhere. Is it here? Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Just again on the topic of school, I feel that same way. Is that just I wish I valued the schooling that I had a lot more than I do. But uh, talking about just like various tools and stuff like that, like this actually ties really really closely into schooling and just why it was such a clustercluck, right? So right now I'm using Blender, and I've been using Blender. I'm sorry, this is a whole rant tirade, but I've been using Blender since like s- I've been using Blender since Blender hated its users. I was like 13 or something like that, and I was really interested in wanting to make video games. And my dad took me to the bookstore, and I found a book. It's like make games with Blender, and I was like, yes, that's what I want. And I went and I got that book because all of the other books said you had to have this program called Maya. And I didn't have money. I was 13. So I was like, oh, I'm going to use the free thing. And I've just been using it ever since. When I went to college, they were teaching me how to use Maya. And specifically, they were teaching me how to use all Autodesk products. So we had Maya, and specifically, instead of having ZBrush, we had a uh, program called Mudbox, which is Autodesk's attempt at being ZBrush, right? And I would go up to my teachers, and they'd be like, "Okay, so you have to learn you have to learn Maya. You have to learn Maya no matter what because Maya is the industry standard. If you don't know Maya, then you don't know anything, right? Maya is the industry standard. That's what we're learning." And so, like I'm in college, things are progressing, and digital sculpting is like starting to become a really integral part of all 3D pipelines. And we're starting to learn Mudbox. And you go up and you ask the teachers, and they're like, okay, what's the deal with ZBrush? And they're like, well, it's the industry standard. Um, and it's like, okay, well, why are we learning Mudbox instead of ZBrush, right? If it's the industry standard and that's what we're learning and that's what we have to know. And they were like, it's all the same. It carries over. If you learn one, you've learned all of them. And I was like, okay, so then why do we have to learn Maya? Like, why can't, there's several other programs out there. Why aren't we doing 3ds Max? Why aren't we doing Blender? Why aren't we doing any of these other programs? Like, because Maya is the industry standard. I'm like, your logic sucks. And it wasn't until way late in my program that I overheard like just a slip. It wasn't a big thing, but the reason why we were using and learning Mudbox was because we, as a school, had a packaged product deal with Autodesk, and it wasn't that we were being taught industry standards. I mean, it was and it wasn't. It was that the school was saving money. That's what it was, right? And I was so just furious when I found out that, like, because my teachers actively discouraged me from ever touching Blender. They were like, Blender's not used by anyone. It's not this thing. If you start doing something in Blender and you encounter a problem, we won't know how to help you because we're teaching you Autodesk. It's like this whole thing. And when I finally found out it was literally just because the school was like saving money, I was just, oh, I was so furious. Um, anyway, on the topic of like Maya and ZBrush being your like pipeline, is if that's what your studio or your work environment is using, absolutely. Like you use what your employer is telling you to use. But outside of that, go experiment. Go try other programs, go do other things because I don't feel that I would be able to create or do half of the things I can now if I had stuck with only learning the industry standard, right? There's so many things that I learned from like other places and other techniques and other softwares that I use regularly in my core software. And so please go out and try other things. Um, I hate Maya. I hate Maya so much. I'm so sorry. Let me read what you guys have been saying here, and then I'll get back to making grass. There's my rant for today. Uh, oh man. And that's someone asked something about the baking in shadows there, and the answer is that like yeah, kind of. So it's not fully baking them in, but it is. I don't know. It's giving me a thing that I can mess around with, if you will. That I agree with. That I do agree with. But so the statement is that the only software I would say a 3D artist needs to know nowadays is Substance Painter. And I would agree with that. But also, Substance Painter is like a good program. I'm sad that it got bought out, but it's not like saying, no, you have to learn ZBrush. It doesn't matter how bad the user interface is, you have to learn it. Which, make no mistake, the user interface and the whole, like, just general UI situation in ZBrush is next level hella bad. Alrighty, so we've got our grass. I'm a bit perturbed that one side of it is doing what it be doing. So I'm actually going to take just a little bit of this into Unreal for 1 second because I want to make sure that the stuff I need to have happening is in fact happening. So we'll take in one of these blades of grass into Unreal and we'll make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Um, Always double check your work, you know? Do 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 do. Gotta boot up Unreal. Yeah, no, I have talking about this is nice, and also Steam as a platform. Um, on Steam, you can actually buy perpetual licenses for single versions of Substance Painter. So you won't get any of the updates, right? If there's like a super cool new feature out, you'll have to buy a new thing. But on Steam, of all places, you can just buy Substance Painter. And I've been using, I think, Substance Painter like 2018 forever, and I just maybe at some point I'll see a reason to change things around. But as it currently stands, nah, man, that's great. So let's take this. Oop, I lied for just a second. Let's take this and let's do file export FBX. Truthfully, and this is absolutely true, and I just don't judge me. I'm putting up this background when I'm navigating file folders just because I don't want you to see how disgusting the organization of my computer is. It's not good. We'll name this lighting test. We'll see how that goes. And then over in Unreal, we'll import this and see how it works. Failed to create. Oh. Okay. Then this is why we test. Oh, I betcha that's the problem. Content. You know what? Let me make a new folder and we'll call this let's see if that works. Hey, perfect. Okay. So generate mission collisions, do not create materials, and import. All right, so let's see what we got here. Um, so this is the lighting test. Let's pull it into the scene and we'll scale it way up here so that we can see sort of what we got going on. And that is a little bit not what I wanted it to look like. Isn't that just grand? Oh, you know what? Can I? Nope. Well, hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Interesting. Is there maybe something that I've forgotten to do? Let's just try making a new material real quick and see what we've got here. Come on. Surface. Yes. Opaque. Yes. Where? There it is. Unlit. Um, no, we'll do lit. That's fine. What is going wrong? Boop a doo. Do 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 do. There's something weird in the neighborhood. Who am I going to call? Let's try. Ill-advised here. File, export, FBX. Boop. And now we can just re-import that same model there. Unreal? Oh no. There we go. Why does it look like this? Hmm. Oh my goodness. Uh, Blender's always been a bottleneck. It's got too many features. The number of features between like Photoshop, Blender, Substance Painter, Unreal Engine, just half my time is spent learning where I am in the time space continuum and it never being correct. Uh, that's that's my life. Um, oh. Uh, oh. No. Weird. Wild. I truly do not know. This is some incorrect lighting stuff, and I'm not entirely certain what is happening in the Hizzle, or why. And it's weird because I I can see that it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing in Blender as far as I can tell. Um, Maybe it is. There is some weird stuff going on. Just speaking of features and settings and things, this is now. Is it? I don't know. Is the like. It shouldn't be. Because I pulled them apart just a second ago. And it was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But it still had the weird artifacting. Do. Where's my light? Where's my light? Is that the light? Where's my light? Starting to look at it and I'm like, is it actually weird or am I just crazy and that's what it's supposed to look like? No, that definitely feels not correct. What it feels like is happening. Let me go look at my material again here. Um, that should not fix it. That should make it much worse. Yeah, cool. Right? So yeah, that is not correct. That I don't know. I don't know about UE5 with the shadow maps. I think that's up next. I'm not positive. I'm not positive. Well, let's let's try a new experiment. Let's try a new experiment. We'll just move right along until things make sense again. So it should be, take this guy, we'll pop him back up here, grab all of those, hide them, add in a plane, RX90, boom, scale. Oh, no, boom, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Maybe I might know what the problem is. I might know what the problem is. I might know what the problem is. That shouldn't be a factor, though. Hold that thought. Depending on how this works, will answer the question there. Friend? Live debugging. Well, now I've got the even weirder thing that this is not showing me my vertex normals. Why are those not updating? Everything is slowly melting as time goes on here. What's your deal? Well, let's just do what's supposed to happen. All right, something's happening. My eye? I think it's very valuable to see people have to debug in real time. I appreciate it. It's not the most interesting thing, and it's one of those like arguably distinctly embarrassing things where you're like, "Oh no, I don't know what's going on and why." But there is definitely value to it, especially for just trying to like learn things for the first time. Uh, so I appreciate having you here. And then the other question was, is there a difference between using C++ and blueprints in Unreal Engine? And the answer is kind of, but not really, but also kind of. Um, the blueprint system, as far as I understand it, and I haven't really dove into the C++ part, so I'm not the authority on what I'm about to tell you, but the why just was not working like 2 seconds ago. Why? What did I do differently? Oh my God. What was I talking about? Difference in performance. Not technically. The blueprint system is so integrated into the way that the code is structured that even if you're doing things in C++, you are still like interacting with the way the blueprint system works. But to my understanding, the blueprint is slower, like fundamentally, if you're using just the raw visual scripting. But it's negligible in most cases, and I think it's like actually packaged out. So when you like package up your project into a full game, I think it like all becomes compiled and doesn't matter. I think. I don't actually know that though, but I do believe that's correct. Yeah, that's a good description. Is that yeah, the C plus anything in like a hard language, especially a language like C, will always just be faster, just because of computers. And there's like little things that you can optimize in a way that you just can't otherwise. But for the most part, it shouldn't really be a concern unless you're making like again, yeah, just a huge, huge game. All right, so let's try this again. Let's try this again. This is not going to import anything, is it? Did, which is awesome. Where is that coming from? All right, let's go one thing at a time. What happens if I take all of you, and I just delete you so that you don't exist? Boom, boom, file, export. Boom, 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 boom. Reimport. So Hmm. I'm gonna look something up for a second here. You know what? Let me actually do the yeah. It is a Rorschach test. It's a Rorschach test and a test of my patience as well. Uh, so let's see here, because the thing that's going very strangely is that one of those things. Oh wait, you know what I bet? You know what I bet? You know what I bet? Boop 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 boop. I bet I know. 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 Hold on. I bet that I know. I bet that I know. I bet this is it. I bet this is it. Mhm, 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 mhm. I even talked about it. That's how dumb it is. So you were talking a minute ago about. I just feel so dumb. Oh no. Oh, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate just anyone who's willing to deal with my bullshit. Uh, okay. Yeah, so I want to preface this because I started thinking about it and I was like, if this is like this, then this would, and it clicked. So just on the topic of there being so many settings and so many different options and buttons and like clickable things in just Unreal, right? And I've got those in Unreal and Blender and all of these programs that I know how to use. I hate it because sometimes the answer is really easy. And if I just did this thing more and it was like my focus, I would be able to remember them easier. But across this many programs, it gets lost really easily. The whole reason why we're doing the normal and pointing them all straight up is to treat all grass as a flat object that we can light as if it were flat on the ground. And we're doing that so that we don't have any shadows, because casting shadows on the grass would be just too expensive. With this many blades of grass doing this many things in the wind, we just can't have cast shadows. So what was the problem? Literally just that. For these objects, I needed to turn off cast shadows. And that's it. That's the whole thing. Because the thing I was thinking about and the thing that was going wrong is I was like, I went over to Blender, and I was like, I deleted one side, so it was just a one-sided object, and it had no problems. And I was like, the thing is that the opposite side should be transparent. Light should pass through the transparent side and hit the bottom, or the not transparent. Transparent's kind of a misleading term to use. It should light should move through the cold side and then hit the other object. And it was as I was realizing that essentially light was not moving through my object, I was like, oh, don't worry, I think I have an idea. Yeah, basically. Oh, God. Okay, anyway. So, yay. So let's go back to our grass that we were making now that we know it should work. Because it still is looking weird in Blender. Like, there is still something weird over here that I don't know why it looks the way it does. But the good news is that kicking it over to Unreal is fine. So as long as the like final product looks fine, that's the thing that we are ultimately most concerned about. If our interim is a little janky, then we're gonna be okay. Get down here. Cast shadows? No. Hey! Lovely. Oh, isn't it nice? Oh, I love it so much. Yay. Let's get rid of these other ones here. Yeah, and then we'll just stick this on you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, I feel sheepish. And coincidentally, just for the record, I was talking earlier about like being nervous and just having a hard time sometimes uploading videos because this happens not regularly, but like it's not a rare occurrence where I have to spend like 30 minutes just remembering a button that I need to click. Just I can't believe that's literally the entire process is so that I can turn off the shadows. That's the whole fundamental idea here. All right, back over to Blender. And hello, hooray! I can't tell if that's a hooray that you're here or a hooray that I figured it out. I'm gonna pretend that it's a hooray that you're here. Um, divert the camera away from me. All right, perfect. Okay, so back in our grass. We have these things now. They're set up. Each one should have its own, which actually is a fun note now that we have Unreal Engine open. I can actually take this material off of it, and you can see our UVs at play, which is really cool. Like those things we set out specifically for how we adjusted them because the default material is a grid. I don't know if it's showing up on stream there, but you can actually see how we've moved the central vertices differently along our UV layout than we did the like outside vertices. So like you, that's actually reflected, and it's just cool to know that like this stretching means we've done it right for any case that doesn't involve traditional textures. Like if you were using traditional textures, this would be like, oh, you've messed up so bad. You need to go fix this immediately. But for the gradient thing we're doing, you're like, this is perfect. It could not be done better. Perspective, right? Okay, so we've got this, we've got these. They're all a little wonky, but they're all doing exactly what they need to be doing. Let me make sure that they all have their normals pointing up, which they do, or that their vertex normals are pointing up, and then their face normals are all pointing out, and that all looks correct and such. Let's go ahead and rename some of these. I'll call this grass underscore 00. Uh, whoop. Oh, does that? Hey, perfect. I appreciate you guys. All right, so we got that turned off. Doing this. We can hide these now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in circle, squeeze this down, pull this like this, give it a face just for the sake of stuff. And now we're just going to play around with variables, and we get to do so in a really cool way, which is using geometry nodes. And that is super duper exciting. I every time I see someone making assets for games, they're always using the particle system, and I kind of hate whenever people use the particle system in Blender. The particle system that they're almost always using is the one that is the most useful for making models, which is like hair systems. It's called hair regardless of what you're making. Just anything where you have a bunch of things across a surface coming out of that surface. And everybody always uses the particle system. And Blender, uniquely to Blender, like no other program has this, but Blender's got geometry nodes, which are amazing and mind boggling. And just the fact that everyone always uses the particle system just baffles me. So we're going to do some stuff. We're going to do, I believe, points is the first thing I want to do. Um, I can never remember the correct order here. Points on faces. Do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our circle that we have here. I'm actually going to get rid of my human scale. We're going to take our circle that we have here, and I'm going to distribute a number of points on that face. If I plug that into this geometry node here, we can see those points. They're invisible at the moment because they don't contain any actual information, but they do exist. So with that, we can play around with things. We can play around with the density, how they are distributed, and stuff like that. Then we're going to take these points and we're going to say instance on points. And we're going to plug that into geometry, and that gives us nothing. So we're going to undo that for just a second so you guys can see what's going on. So first thing to do is we start off with a disk, and then we take that disk and we scatter a bunch of points on it, and we can control all of that stuff. Then, would you make me some too? Someone's making coffee and I would love some. I have an energy drink right here. Don't make me coffee. So now we need to take those instances and all those points that we placed down, and we're going to put a new thing on whatever those points are. And one of the first things that we're going to put is our grass. So I'm just going to drag the grass into here, hide it again. And I can take geometry instance, plug that in. And then I'm going to take the instances on points. So I'm going to plug it in here. And now on all of those points that we have created that grass blade, right? And the idea that we're going to do basically over and over again here is the geometry of this circle is still this small circle, right? So we can create small, dense clusters of grass using our grass blades, add them together, and create patches of grass. And then we can take this exact disk and distribute that on another disk and kind of nest these things together in order to create just really cool formations of grass. Someone was asking earlier about how much of the work in Elden Ring might be procedural. And the answer is that there's a chunk of it that's probably like this, right? So we spent a lot of time making each grass blade by hand, but the time spent like organizing it and like exploding it into really complex patterns, that's procedural and happens really, really quick. Yeah, exactly. The only thing I need to remember, and again, this just goes back to stuff I don't remember from time to time. Is it add? Is it combine? Is it group? What is the thing? Join geometry. Yes. Okay, so um perfect. So we'll take, I'm just gonna make this whole screen big for a second here. So we'll take, and I believe this goes into here, this goes into here. And I will need to also, there's something called realize instances. Um, and all that does is it says our instances are just that. They're instances. They're like fake imaginary copies until we realize them. And then it becomes actual geometry. Um, So the other thing I want to do is there's a node in here called random, and I might get a couple of these. Uh, so we'll do pi. Is that okay? Perfect. These are measured in radians. I don't enjoy working with radians. Um, but fortunately you can this is like really cool thing about Blender is that the interface of Blender is just so nice. I can actually do like negative 0.25 times pi, or I guess it would be, I'm sorry, times pi, and it will give me exactly that amount. This is the X rotation, the Y. So on the Z rotation, I want this number. Um, or actually, no, I want no. On the Z rotation, I want this. And then on these, I want negative point. I'm going to do 0.15 times pi. We'll do that there, except this one's positive. And we'll do the perfect. So what are we doing is where's those points that we have and why don't I see them? Because this got unhooked somehow. Plug that back in there. So when I take this random vector value and I plug it into rotation, we should get perfect. Welcome back. Now, the last thing is that the density minimum, random density, uh, yes, might be a bit too dense. Uh, so now we're going to pull up our human scale again. And one of the best ways to go about, like, sort of in your brain doing scale is literally just put your camera like sort of up and at the angle that it would be in like a third person action game, right? So here I'm looking at my character, I'm like, this grass is really small, right? uh, which is I could make it different. I could make like a huge thing of grass. I could make a sort of a small. We're just trying at the moment to make like a small patch of grass because we're going to spread this out over another disc essentially. That way we get our nice sort of different combinations of things. Um, but yeah, is just making sure that this is scaled, and I basically want it to come up to this line in some cases, not all cases, but in a number of cases, I want it to come up to this barrier. Just in case you weren't here for the very first bit, this box, this little wireframe box here, is a 2 meter tall box, which is the same size as like a large, fully grown adult. And then it's divided into quarters, and then just using landmarks that you would learn in like a drawing class, we know that this line here is basically right below the knee. So for scale, we can measure all of our things based off of that. Let me go in real quick and also make sure that each of my grass blades is uh, actually scaled correctly. So just that I don't have any outlying scaling issues or anything like that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take everything and I'm going to apply my transforms. Always do the thing. There we go. Now I've got my grass. Let's go back into my geometry nodes here. And so for scale, I might also add in one additional random value thing that I plug into scale. And then we will turn all of these to 0 and all of these to 1. Um, why are you doing things like that? What is your deal? There we go. And I lied. This here is going to be now 0.8 is the minimum scale and 1.2. So the scale covers this range from it covers a range of like 40%, like a 40% range up and down off of whatever its normal size is. And then we can muck around with this later, but stuff. Anywho. Do. So now that we've got this, let's go ahead and we can take basically all of this information. There should also be a snappy. Yeah. Working in Unreal, when my stuff doesn't snap to my other stuff, it makes me sad. So we'll do these probably just like that. Perfect. Take this whole thing, copy, paste it again. And I should be able to take just this mesh, click it into here, give it a different seed. And now, and I'm missing one additional thing here, is let's do a different grass. And then let's take this and do into the join geometry. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And I'm just going to do that for all 4 grasses. I'm not super familiar with geometry nodes, so there might be a much cleaner way to do this. But, you know, this works as well, so we'll do it this way. So we have grass 0, grass 1, grass 2, grass 3. All of these need to have different seed numbers. And then we can play with the density and make it a little bit less ridiculous. I don't like how that one wire is. I guess it's fine. Cool. Alrighty. So we'll do moderate amount of those, lower some of those. Probably don't want this first one to be too ridiculous. Why am I not seeing any of this grass? Does join only do 2 things, I wonder? Oh, no, I just haven't plugged anything in. Doink. Doink. Yeah, that's a proper messy graph. Luckily, so on the topic of node spaghetti, um, if all of this geometry were not going to be applied to be used as an actual object, I would absolutely learn a more efficient way of doing it. But because it's all going to be like actualized and turned into real geometry, a little bit of node spaghetti. All right, so we'll take those down. We'll take these down. Now that we know where these are coming from, we can take that way down. And then this one we can also take down. Perfect. So here we've got our random cluster of grass. Technically, if I wanted to, there are things I could do to like spread this out more. and just generally make it more useful to work with. But I think for the time being, and just with what the plan is today, um, this will work fine. Do, 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 do. Yeah. 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 What was that? Dipper Pines from, you know what also would help? That. Uh, Dipper Pines from Gravity Falls. Perfect. So here's the plan. It's got a very leftward or a very angled lean to it, doesn't it? Um, the the plan is that we're gonna have the thick, tall grass sort of operate like this, where it's going to be individually modeled blades of grass. The smaller, shorter, more sparse grass is going to be done in clusters using cards. And we're basically just going to combine the two. And that's kind of the idea and the plan here. So if this is 1, and I want to reduce the density of them just a little bit, I like that one, really tall, wild one. Perfect. So we'll say this patch 00. Keep our naming scheme consistent with the underscore. We can take this, we can hide it, we can make a new circle here. And we're going to do just the same thing real fast, but this one should be much simpler and less extreme. This is points on face, points on faces. This should be instances on points. This should be realize geometry. This clicks in right over here. We take this, pop it in. Weep, boop, boop, boop. Weep, boop, boop, boop. We should be seeing something, but I am seeing no things. Did I do it wrong already again? I did. Figured it out. There's no faces in my geometry. There we go. All right. And now we have grass, and we can make a random value using a vector. Plug that into here. Move that over here. Wow, that's some windswept grass. It's amusing. All right, and then the same thing is negative 0.15 times pi. And then this is the same but positive. Yeah, cool. And then we'll make one more scale. And we're only going to scale around with the z values. Which we'll say is despite, well, do 0.8 and then 1.2. Yeah. Truthfully, I do not even know that much about this, the instance index here. Or is there another? Oh, I didn't even notice that. But is there a way to feed like a different seed into the thing? Index node. Whoop. Do we slap that into the ID or into the seed? Does it matter? Can we do both? Can we just send wires everywhere? Generally, I find that sending wires everywhere produces fascinating results. And also today I learned something. That's really cool. Anyway, this is our presumably like lush first set of grass. And by mucking around with this, we can just do different things. So this was the process that I think is like fun and worthwhile that just not enough people do or use, like watching people create things online. For grass and foliage and such. There's a thing I can do called Poison Disc, and the awesome thing about this is I can actually create a minimum distance between things so that there's no overlapping happening, or at least minimal overlapping. Which even just of that, I can like increase my density by a lot, but make sure that my distribution is still very even. A capture attribute from any particular seed, or just like where am I capturing the attribute from? And I might also just go with this for the moment because it exists, and revisit stuff later. But I would be curious. In fact, here's a good plug or a good chance if we haven't done this already. Is oops, that's not the correct one. Yeah. This is there should be. This is the Discord. Trying to remember. Invite people using. Here's a fun link for anyone to join the Discord that we have. If you have not joined up already. So there's a Discord link. Come join the Discord. Come hang out. And Brett, there, if you want, I would be more than fascinated to find out more about this process. A little bit later, you can message me on there. But for now, we'll probably move on from here. So that's the idea, at least for our fully modeled grass, is that we have this, and we're just going to take this into Unreal and see what we end up with here. So take this. This acts as a modifier, so I can turn it all into real geometry like this. Boom. And the nice part is that if we come in and we look at our, not our wireframe, our, interesting. Oh, none of our normals are pointing up, despite the fact that we did that beforehand, because of the way geometry nodes works. That's pretty easy to fix. Simply do basically the exact same thing again, and just make them point up. So we do this and do 0, 0, 100 non-spherized, and they should all be pointing straight up, which is perfect. There is actually one other thing before I do this that I realize we're missing. And I forgot to do this earlier, and I forgot to talk about it earlier. There was another thing that we talked about previously, which was vertex painting. Vertex painting is a process where like you've got so many different things. You've got like normals, you've got textures, you've got where they are in the UV space, and then you've got the actual like embedded color of the vertices. Um, and we are going to go in and quick edit those because one of the things you can do, or what I will be using this for, is using vertex color to actually create a gradient of how the grass blows around. So if you just put a material, oh my goodness, that felt great. If you just put a material on this and say, I want you to blow in the wind, the whole blade of grass is going to blow. Um, and that's not great because the grass should be like planted to the ground. So the top part should blow around, but the bottom part should stay like where it is, right? So we have to introduce that real quick. So I have to go through each blade of grass and do that real quick because I forgot. But we'll get these and we'll go into Vertex Paint. We'll do Strength. Draw should be 0%. I think I can actually, I think I can do this and I can just go vertex and I can actually somewhere in here is set Shift K. Yeah, I believe is the. There's also a place where it should show me the color of each vertex. And I'm just curious as to where that is. It has been 10 seconds since I've done this last. Nope. 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 Hmm. Now I can't remember anything. Oh, it's going. I'm just dumb. Perfect. These down here, vertex paint, and then I can do boom, set cut. Yeah, there we go. Okay, my goodness. So if we do what, 0, 20, 40, 60, 80? No, no, no. 25, 50, 75, 100. That's what we'll do. So these are at 0. This is at 25. So we'll take the value up here to 0.25 and then set the vertex colors. It should just be setting it for those ones, but it seems to be setting it for all of them. And I think that's the thing I'm trying to remember here. If I set all of these up, does that... Like, there was a way that you could... Right. Well, pie upon whatever's going on, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Everything, take it, we'll put it all the way up to 100, set all of the vertices, and then we'll go down bit by bit by bit. So this 0.75, these need to be that color. We'll make sure we get both sides. Hello. Oh, how you doing? Go down. This will be 0.5 here. Come in like this. Go down. This will be 0.25 like such. And then down here at the very bottom will be, and let me see one last thing. Should probably do it that way. All right, 0.75, swoop, 0.5, swoop, 0.25, swoop, and then finally 0. And we're doing this before actualizing the geometry. That way we don't have to do it for each individual blade of grass for all of those clumps immediately afterwards, because that would be a nightmare. 0.25, 0.5, and then 0.75, and finally 1. Excellent. And then finally the last blade of grass. Perfect. This was another other thing that I should have done again at the very beginning, but at least we remembered it now. It doesn't look like it's painting, does it? You driving me nuts thing. Why? What's your deal? Goodness. However slight, I can tell that this one is doing it. So we'll just pretend that all the other ones didn't. Good enough for me. Good enough for me. Now, going back to this. Perfect. Right. So because it's using all of the previous information, we can see that it's all, for the most part, dark at the bottom and then bright at the top, which is what we want. Do, 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 do. Go into modifiers, apply that. And here we've got grass underscore fluffy 00. That's what we'll call it. So with this now, let's take this guy over to Unreal and see what we end up working with here. So FBX, go, then back over in the Unreal land, we can take this fun thing that we have, re-import it, and what we should end up with is this gigantuan thing. Scale 1. Perfect. And then last but not least, if we come in here, yeah. I do need to take its collision and make sure that that's not a thing. And I also need to, as we learned, make sure that it's not casting any shadows. That's an important step in the process. Screw it. Shadow. No cast shadows. Perfect. Should be able to take that, put that on. Oh, I know what we're missing. I know what we're missing. Popping back over here. Remember this reset all of our vertex normals. So we're just gonna take these real quick and go boom, boom, boom. Clear out all the sharp edges and then align them to some point really, really, really high in the sky. Yeah. File, export, FBX. Go. No, go. And then come back over here. Yeah. That's what we want. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. It's gorgeous. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but it is gorgeous, I promise here. So we'll come in real quick, make sure that there's no collision. Collision none. Take me off here. Collision, no collision. Perfect. Now, if I run around, I should be able to just run right over this. Excellent. Okay, so we're almost to the end of probably this phase, and then I might take a break there and call it for today. But the last thing, at the very least, we should do is muck around with this material a little bit to make it just a little bit nicer here. Let me see if I remember here is it's Vertex color. And I can take the vertex color, and I believe I can simple grass wind. I can take this, plug this into here, which is the world position offset. Nope, I lied. Let's grab a multiply. Yes. Yes. And then we'll take in 3 little values here, hook these bad boys up. We'll do 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. And then we'll make the grass quite a bit darker and nicer in color. Apply, save, and then slap that grass on here and see what we get. If I'm not mistaken, the bottoms should not be moving, which they are. That is okay. I will figure that out in a moment. But that is our first shot at grass for the moment. Oh man, what a journey today. What a journey. I would not say this is done in the least, but certainly it's more than nothing. Our lovely fields of grass. Very wild fields of grass. Very shiny fields of grass. We can fix that real quick. Specular, not at all. Roughness, berry. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? There's one additional thing here. So there also should be a shadow in here that we can turn off. Which, yes. And then this is a thing that we'll add in more later, is just more interaction with this. Trying to remember. Oh, well. My Steam is pretty much kaput for the day. As a fun note, though, this currently is just what has been up and happening in the world of the of the game, is just getting it to so the plan at the moment, so that you all know, is we've got this, and this has been just a bit of networking, is getting, like, you can shoot in these projectiles. They're literally just dodgeballs. Whenever you shoot them, as long as they're above a certain velocity, they can knock both each other around, which is super cool, but they can also knock other players around. You can go in and you can pick them up. There is a static number of balls just sort of available around. And the idea is that you go in, you throw them, and oh, he died. And then he just respawns right over there. And whoever is essentially dies the fewest number of times is the winner of a round. This is a like network test for just me figuring out how to do replication and networking in Unreal in general. So the good news is that like this, in theory, will be the thing polished and made prettier and just nicer in general. And then this will be the thing that's put up on Steam. And then from there is we'll start swapping out and adding in mechanics one at a time for the design that I went over in the video whenever that was, like 2 weeks ago. So it's going to start out as this kind of like base form dodgeball game, and then slowly we're going to add in one thing at a time. So the first thing is now it will be okay, when you get out, you don't actually get out. Instead, you turn into another player who can maybe like muck around with the balls and like add force to them and stuff like that. Then we'll swap that out and add in the next thing, and then add in the next thing, and then the next thing after that. And so we're going to build the game basically one step at a time. But this literal like version of dodgeball is going to be the first thing that is playable, and that is something I hope to make a video on before the end of the week. It shouldn't take more than the end of the week in order to finish getting in like a lot of the grass and stuff like that, remake a really nice environment, and yeah, that's the plan. Oh goodness, I'm so tired. This is hard work. It's the talking is surprisingly hard. I this streaming has been a lot of fun, but talking about it has been difficult. Have like a 5 minute wind down. You know what I'll do. I know exactly what I'll do. Um, we'll pop this up real quick. I will save and close this project. We'll come back to this probably. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Streaming is weird, but we're gonna close down with that game of Hunt that I was gonna say. That game earlier that I was like, ah, yes, I will play this at some indeterminate point in the future. We'll do that. That will be a fun way to sort of close things off. So let me boot that up real quick. Thank you. I appreciate you saying so. I like maybe let's see, what time is it? Like 30 minutes ago or so, I started like really tanking and I could feel myself getting like really tired, and I was like, you know what? Just here's what I'm doing. It doesn't matter. I'll fix it later. We'll fix it in post. Uh all things can be fixed in post. Oh, there's so much I didn't do today. It's okay. We'll play a game. Oh, my neck. I'm gonna stream a quick match of a video game. Welcome. Well, I mean, I'm glad. Welcome in for your first time. This is my not my first time streaming ever, but like this is the most people I've ever had in a stream before, so that's cool. So I'm gonna play a game to wind down. In case anybody missed it earlier, the game is a game called Hunt Showdown. It is a battle royale type game, but it's very different from probably whatever you're imagining. It is not like most battle royale games. my my girlfriend's laughing. Hunt Showdown is not like a relaxing game. Like saying like, okay, I'm going to like wind down by playing the most stressful experience that I possibly can is essentially what I'm doing. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So yeah, so this game is called Hunt Showdown. It's a battle royale type game, which basically means that there's going to be 12 players. Like the basic structure is this: is you load into a match, and you've got 12 players who are they all have to go kill a boss of some kind. Um,
The thing is that you have to first find the boss because its location is not clear on the map. So you have to go find out where it is. Then once you find out where it is, it's also still a boss. So you have to fight it, and that's a very theoretically tough thing to do. Then you have to go through this whole process of banishing the thing, which then alerts everybody on the map where the boss is. And then it's going to drop 2 tokens, and you have to pick up one of those tokens and make it to very specific points along the edge of the map and not die. And if you can do that, you get a whole bunch of money, you get a whole bunch of rewards, everything is great, your life is good. The likelihood that you will die is very high. Um, I will probably play solo here. Oh, I get to put on my headphones. And now I'm a real streamer, guys. This is that real streamer stuff. Is putting on the headphones. Let's see here. Oh goodness. So let's pop back over here. If I turn this off, will it completely ruin everything? Yeah, pretty much. The other thing about this game that's really cool is that your audio plays a really important role. And like if you get familiar with the game and the sounds that are happening in the game, you can actually you can hear so much. I might actually turn up my system audio just a bit so you guys can also hear what's going on because sound is really important in this game. Uh, if you hear that like low humming, droning in the background, that's a good sign. So I also, as a quick side note, is I did something recently, which is they just had a big hunt event, which was the Halloween event, and it just ended. Um, and you can prestige your character, which is just a way of saying like I'm good at the game and I've gone up a level. But each time you do, it resets kind of all of your progress. So I just did that. So now I'm as weak as we get. Let's pull in a cool hunter. Um, I like my favorite character is Gar, so I'll probably bring her in. But I've also got yeah, I'll bring in Gar. She's my favorite, so that's what I'll do. And now I need to. The whole statement about like the having reset my progress is that I now have no weapons. I have no things with which to do the good things. Let's do. Do I actually have that unlocked? Sorry, give me a second here. Marksman, 3 slots. I do. Oh, then we're doing great. We're doing grand. Do I happen to have the... I don't. That's a bummer. I don't have those either. I don't have any of the stuff that I need in order to do this easily. Uh... Do. Probably we'll take in some of those. And some of... Really? You don't start with dynamite? When does dynamite get unlocked? Soon. Perfect. Okay. Well, then I guess I'm ready. I have no equipment, but that's fine. That's fine. Cool. All right. Play against teams of 2. Going in solo. Let's play the game. Yeah. No, this is a hard game. Yeah. Documenting what you're going on does add a lot of work. I also appreciate everybody who does. I need to get, because there's such a, it's that like SpongeBob meme where he's like, don't look, it's not ready, right? Like I don't want to be like, yeah, this is how I fucked up and didn't accomplish anything for the past 6 hours. Enjoy. But it's good to do so. So if I can just swallow the pride of making really like perfect things, just to show you guys, I really do want to do that. It's hard though. It's hard. Be humble. Be concise. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm talking. I'm filling in the time because there's a load screen. Okay, this is gonna suck. This legitimately will be like the third time I've played this game on my own. I always play either with randos or I'm not going into play. Like if I ever go in alone, it's usually to like farm experience or something like that because it's just so I'm literally outnumbered against everyone. Unless I meet another person who's gone in solo, I just always am on the back foot. Um, I'm not even doing it in the smartest way. Like it's actually smarter to go in against teams of three than teams of two. So I've made this as difficult on myself as I possibly can. Uh, Tell me if the in-game audio is. I'm gonna actually turn it up a little. Whoa, you're just okay. We're moving right into it. You get to see me aim bad too. I probably. I'll talk and I'll try and narrate sort of what's going on. If you hear me, if I just go dead silent randomly, it's for that exact reason. Yeah, there's already people here. So I can use this sort of dark sight and see that the clue is kind of over there. And there's definitely already people at least nearby, and I can't quite tell where. And I know there's people nearby because I heard a horse go off. So there's these things called sound traps. And they're basically just things that are really loud. And I heard a horse get agitated, like a horse on the ground. And that means just by definition that someone activated it. But I'm not seeing anyone. I'm going to take a bit of a risk. This could kill me, but so could everything in this game. Oh, it's up at the next compound. Okay. So I actually have a small amount of time to do this. Cool. So now on my map, areas have closed off where the boss definitely is not. And so I can go try and find somewhere at one of these other locations there might be the boss. But there definitely will be another clue to try and track down the boss. That's a horse, like one of the ones I was talking about. I don't really have a way to deal with it quietly, so I'm just not going to. So we're moving over to the next location in an effort to try and find more clues as to where this boss could be. And I have to be kind of especially careful and quiet and attentive. Because at least when you have like a partner, obviously if you like get hit or something like that, your partner can get you up. But I'm alone. When I go down, and that's all I got. So like those melee attacks, for example, someone way over there could have easily heard me punching those zombies and would know, okay, I don't know what weapons they've got, and I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know where they're going, but I definitely know someone was just over there. And they could, like, discern direction as well. Game is best played with surround sound headphones. But just having played a lot of this game, I can tell you that the boss probably is not near me. I'm guessing the boss is going to be at Heritage Pork. Ooh, don't want to fuck with that. God damn it. Like how my language starts getting much stronger the more I... This sucks. Oh my god, please not more, really? This is awful. This is... So these clues can be just in different locations, and that is like the least convenient location it could possibly be in. Which means that this game is going well. Excuse me. Where did I say I thought it was going to be? Heritage Pork? Oh boy. So that's what I mean when I say, like, just the slightest attention, right? Oh, baby, he knows where I am. And if he's a good player, he's not going to let me go. But if he's a human player, he's not going to be able to keep up with me, in theory. I'm very good at disappearing. But yeah, he probably heard me, and I heard him, and that's like how sensitive it is, and it's ridiculous. And if you're like, I didn't hear anything, yeah, it's a rough game. I don't know if I really want to fight him though. I don't know if he's gonna let me go. Is the thing. What's the vote, chat? Should I play it out and see if he wants to play a game, or should I keep looking for the boss? I think against better judgment, I might move on. Well, that's the boss, so someone just killed it. I said it was going to be right here. It is not. It is right next to that. Let's see. Yeah. However, credit to that other guy. I'm impressed that he heard me. I stopped. I stopped the second I heard him. And I'm impressed that he heard me. Our current dilemma is that there's these little, like, can you see my cursor? No. There's these little white marks on the edges of the map. Like, there's one on the, like, right side. Or there's actually this one right here. Ooh. That's a place that players can extract from the map. And they just have one right next to them here, so they can just leave. So I need to get into a position where I can attempt to block them leaving before they just walk out with the money. The good news... You know what? I bet he heard my melee. I bet that's what he heard. I bet he didn't hear me. I heard him, but I bet he heard my melee and just knew I was over that way. Anyway, I have to get to the people who killed the boss before they get out, and with any luck, many other people on the map are doing the exact same thing. Oh. I stress on my insides. It's fine. Also, I've had like, I don't know, like a half hiccup, half burp all day, and that's been exceptionally irritating. Oh my god, please. Whoa, hello. So that gunshot is just one lone gunshot. We can see these birds flying away here. So those are crows. Those are all over the map. Those are a sound trap. There's some literally right here. And by kind of seeing like which way the crows are flying, seeing like where I hear the gunshots coming from, even going all the way down to hearing the type of gunshot, you can determine like a huge amount of information, which is part of the reason why this game is really freaking cool. Like, that means that someone set off a smoke bomb. So it's just all these like little things that culminate in you like understanding more and more about the game. And it's a really, really awesome game because you getting better at it all comes just from your understanding and knowledge and experience. And basically none of it comes from like getting the drop on someone and getting lucky shots. Those things do happen, but like this is a very skill-laden game. Person just died. I don't know who. I don't know on what team just died, but I do know that they probably don't know I'm here. 2 people just died. And I doubt it was the people who have killed the boss and are currently in the process of getting ready to get out of here. The thing to do now is I'm a bit of a scaredy cat. And like a... Oh! Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Ow. I bet you do.
Smart, smart, smart. Oh, I'm dead. And I got stuck under the fence. I'm alive. That's amazing. Down to my last med kit, though. I realized that I can talk to you and they can't hear me. uh, anyway, they're right down below. I don't think they've left yet. Um, they are like looking for me, but one of the things is that I can like look at the map and I can see. Oh, interesting. I can see that the people who took the bounty from killing the boss are currently about to leave. Like, probably in the next 30 seconds, they're going to get out of here and it's going to be fine. Yep. Which means I now have 5 minutes to get to an extraction. And that's probably. Perfect. How do I want to do this? Do I want to be safe or do I want to... No, let's be safe. Always be safe. I've done more stressful things in less time. So those gunshots means that there's still people fighting, but there's not really a reason for me to fight them. I could. I got my one kill. His partner got him up. It was just a whole thing. Oh, stressful. Stressful game. So I have 4 minutes to get down over here, is basically the game I'm playing. See? And if I die, if I go down, if I do not make it to the extract in time, if anything along those lines happen, I should say that I lose this hunter. I lose whatever level this hunter is at. Like there's permadeath, and I lose all equipment this hunter is carrying. So I lose this gun. In total, that's not really a big deal. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world. However, fuck that. We can definitely make it down there in 3 minutes, right? That's fine. That can be done. We're gonna make it. It's fine. I'm 80% confident I can make it out in time. Anyway, yeah, so there is permadeath. You lose everything that you brought with you into the game if you die for any reason and can't extract. But that's not as punishing as it sounds. The game is very, very generous with what it gives you. You can always get a free hunter. You can always get free guns. They're not great, but you can always get them. However, since I just did that thing where like a reset at 0, I'm currently in a situation where I now have a nice gun and I don't want to lose it, so I need to go. Oh my goodness. Can I help you? This is not facilitating me leaving quickly. Please. Please. Please.
2 minutes, we're gonna be fine. Yeah, it's a bit of a rowdy game. You know what's great? Opening this gate, and then closing that gate. That was the most stressful thing that's happened so far, and it didn't even involve anything other than a gate. Oh, no. Oh, man. Yeah, we made it out. It's fine. We actually got a kill, too, which is great. Small victories. Small victories. Perfect. And I'm here, and basically as long as I don't die before that timer runs out, we're going to be just fine. And no one has any reason to know that I'm down here. This guy's really going at it. Oh, goodness. That went better than I was expecting it to. Oh, yeah, my nerves are nice and calm now. Thank you. So yeah, so that's Hunt Showdown in a nutshell. I realize I didn't do any of the like particularly exciting stuff, but that's it. It truthfully is because I am horribly afraid in this game. It's nerve-wracking, right? And going in solo, like completely alone with no one else to help you or watch your back is just a scary process. But went in, did some stuff. Sometimes more than that happens. I'm sad that we didn't get to see the boss, but that's probably a good place to call it for today. So I don't know. I'll stream more. This has been pretty fun. I like this. I like it. It also encourages me to actually work for longer periods of time, and like kind of gives me a reason to, I don't know, just go really hard. So yeah, great looking foliage. I'll come back and I'll do more of this later. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna call it here, and that'll be the day today. So you guys have it. Oh, what's the thing I say is yes, get some rest.